Hello, welcome to Your Story, My Story, and I'm your host, Bridget Graves. Well, this is the very first episode, and I decided maybe you should get to know who I am and why I want to do this show. And my friend Emily McHugh was gracious enough to host the show for me today. So, Emily, thank you.
Thank you, Bridget. It's wonderful to be a part of this.
Thank you. I'm so glad you agreed.
Well, I think you have so much to offer, and I know that the audience and the people out there are in for a really special opportunity to learn from your experiences and your openness to share them. And this is a really wonderful forum to get the word out on what you have to bring and how you can add value to people's lives. So this is very exciting to be a part of this launch.
Thank you. And once again, Emily, thank you. I can't, this is something I've been looking forward to. It's something I've dreamt about for a long time. And now that we're actually doing it, I cannot begin to tell you how joyful I feel in my heart. And I hope that the audience will forgive us if we're a little nervous, a little awkward. This is our very first show, but I do promise you we'll get better.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic from day one. Of course it will. Of course it will. So I guess we can go right into our questions in our interview and let the people know where this all came from, how it came about. So why did you decide to do a show in the first place?
Well, Emily, I did a presentation at church one day, and you actually came up to me. You said, you know what, you should do a talk show. And I remember thinking, Emily is crazy. I remember laughing.
Not the first to say that.
But as time went on and I thought about it, it just was like, I felt I could actually do that.
Yes.
I like to present. I like to share ideas. And it's something, it stayed with me. And I actually started talking to my children about it. And they encouraged me too. So excellent. I decided, why not?
Yes. And so what is your show going to be about? What is your show?
It's called Your Story, My Story, because we all have a story to tell at the end of the day. And, we're so caught up on celebrities and their point of view. Mm-hmm. And I thought, you know what, the everyday, ordinary people, they have a story to tell. And I think that we can all learn from each other's story. We can be inspired from each other's stories. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's needed, the everyday man to share his message. Because, we all have obstacles in life. We all go through things in life. Well, what did this person do? What did that person do? Yes. So that's why I just, I decided Your Story, My Story. I just thought it was a perfect concept.
Yeah, it is. It encourages the sharing back and forth.
Exactly.
So what do you see the weekly features being like in the format of the show?
Well, I really sat down and thought about it. I am into health and wellness. I'm a personal trainer, and I wanted to get out there some of the things that I would like people to incorporate into their lives. Simple things. I'm into herbal teas, and what I would like to do each week is have my guests choose a tea, and I would like them to share why they chose that specific tea. I mean, the herbal teas are good for so many different things. When I think of people drinking coffee and you think of how bad caffeine is for you, things like that, I really want to get people drinking tea. I don't know if it's because I'm from England, but I do want to get that across. So that's something that we'll be doing every week. I would also like to, I love music. I'm not a musician as you are, but I decided I would like to challenge different people. I love different genres of music. I love classical, I love reggae, I love hip hop. I like everything. I listen to everything. But there are some people who are not so open-minded. So every week I would like to choose a person, or someone wants to let me know that they would like to do it. Hey, I'm open to it. But what I would like that individual to do for an entire week, listen to that genre of music that they may detest or whatever, listen to it for an hour every day for a week. And then at the end of the week, share their experience with the audience. Did you grow to like it? Did you hate it even more? But what did you think of that? So that's something I'm actually very excited about, because I think back to a time when I did not like country music, and it actually grew on me. I like the storytelling of country
Yes.
music, especially the old, when they used to call it country and western. The songs told a story, and that is something I think that's really missing in a lot of songwriting today.
Yeah.
So I would like to encourage, especially the younger people, to be open-minded to like some of the older music. Like I think back to growing up in England, and I think back to the parties that my parents used to have, and I think back to that old music, the ska and things of that nature. You know, I would
Rocksteady.
yeah, I want young people to become interested in that
Yeah.
kind of music. So it's just being open-minded enough to try something new.
And music captures history,
It does.
and it captures the times we're in, and it captures so
Exactly.
many different elements. So speaking of your background, you mentioned you're from England. So where were you born in England? Where did you grow up? Tell us about where you're coming from.
Okay, I was born in London, and I lived there until the age of 10. And I loved my life in England. I mean, back in the early 70s, London was such a wonderful place for a child. It really and truly was. I mean, I think back to going to Brownies, becoming a Girl Guide, and that sense of independence I had, because back then your parents didn't really have to walk you everywhere.
Right,
It was a much safer time. So I think back to those times, and it was just a wonderful place. But then my mom, she decided to move to Jamaica, and she took my siblings and I to Jamaica, and I had the privilege, and I will use the word privilege, of moving to the parish of Portland. And in my opinion, it's the most beautiful place in the world.
Yes.
And it just changed my life. When we moved there, I laugh now, but there was no electricity. My grandparents lived in the country, an area called Ginger House. And at first I thought it was the most boring place in the world, but I came to love that place. It's like so beautiful, it's so tranquil, it's so peaceful. It's absolutely wonderful. But back then, you know, what I remember about going to Jamaica was just how blue the water was,
Oh, yeah.
how white the sand was, just how beautiful the place was. Because back in England, we would go to the seaside once a year. It was a big deal. But the water there was just nothing like what I experienced in Jamaica.
Yeah.
So it was just such a wonderful experience. So I lived in Ginger House for a little while. Then I moved to Port Antonio. And
A lot of rain. That must have
A
reminded
lot
you of
of
England
rain.
a little bit.
definitely, I don't know why, but everywhere I've moved to, it's always been a place with a lot of rain. But Port Antonio was a wonderful place to live, a wonderful sense of community, the most wonderful people that you will ever meet. And I attended Titchfield High, and I'll have to bring the word privilege in once again. I had the privilege of attending Titchfield High. The headmaster was Mr. Chin, fondly known as Bungie, who was also a student of Titchfield when he was younger.
And that's in Port Antonio?
Yes, in Port Antonio. And I can tell you now that Titchfield did not have a lot of money, but that school has put out some of the most intelligent people that you will ever meet, and people who have been very successful. We take pride in knowing that we attended Titchfield. It's like a badge of honor. It's something that I am so proud of. I learned a lot. I met some of the most wonderful people that I'm friends with until this day. And who I am today as a human being, I mean, my 3 children are very intelligent, and I feel that my Titchfield education played a role in that, most definitely. But living in London and living in the parish of Portland, 2 of the best things that's ever happened to me.
And now you're in Florida.
Yes.
Yes.
Another wonderful place.
The road to Florida, which I'm sure you'll tell us more about as well
Yes.
as we go along.
Yes.
So now you're highlighting about the importance of telling our stories. So why do you think it's so important for people to share their stories?
To give other people hope. I think to give other people hope. I think that there are times that you could be inspiring someone and you may not even know it. I have a friend, Ruth, that I met at my church, the Fort Pierce Seventh-day Adventist Church, and when I was going through my divorce, I was actually very inspired by her because she was also separated at the time, and she was raising 3 children just like I was. And, she had to move back in with her mother at one point and start all over. And next thing I know, she bought herself a house, and she has done very well for herself. And I remember thinking, I'm not a nurse like Ruth is, but you know what? If Ruth can do it, so can I. So I drew a lot of inspiration from her. I don't even know if she really can understand what she did for me just by being who she was and what she did. So I look to her, and I look to women like my mother. And in fact, Ruth's mother, Naomi, she was also one who inspired me. She sat me down one day and she gave me some wonderful advice. She told me, whatever you do not let yourself go. She said, if you're going to the supermarket, wear your high heels, wear your lipstick. She said, Sister Bridget, whatever you do not let yourself go. That stayed with me. So it's the inspiration that we can give to others or take from others, because people live their lives and they don't even realize, and they don't stop to think that people are observing them, paying attention to how they live and what they do. So I'm telling you, people, pay attention to how you're living and what you're doing, because there are others paying attention to you. And how do you want to be seen? You don't do things simply because, I'm worried about how people are perceiving me. But at the end of the day, it's nice to know that you can inspire other people. I mean, I have had people reach out to me telling me that they were inspired by my weight loss. They were inspired by the things I have shared about, that whole journey. I put it on Facebook, the whole weight loss journey. So that was something that people got to see me, come down like 70 pounds.
So you were where, and where did you come to?
I went up, I was as high as 186, and then I got down to 113.
People, look at the results. And as she said, she's a personal trainer, so clearly you know how this thing is done.
Yes.
But that is very inspirational, because your story is a living testimony.
Thank you.
And it shows God's power in people's lives.
Yes.
When you are committed to doing things, being the best that you can be, and maximizing your potential.
Right.
Where you can go and what you can achieve.
And I'm glad you brought in God, because I was raised a Seventh-day Adventist. And as I got older, it was a little too much for me. I had to step away for a while. But one of the things that brought me back into the church was the lifestyle. The whole, we believe in a healthy lifestyle. We live by the 8 laws of health. That's something I would like to promote on the show, But people think that it's a complicated thing to be healthy and to lose weight, or they think that it's a magic pill, or they have to have this gadget or that gadget. It's really not about that. It's about being determined. It's about being disciplined, but it's also making the lifestyle change. And as Adventists, we eat healthy. We live a healthy lifestyle. We don't drink alcohol, and we don't smoke. And I think that's all it takes. It's really a very simple process. It does not have to be complicated, but you do have to put in hard work.
Yeah, and to be diligent about it, and know that it will pay off in your life.
Most definitely.
How you go about it. So all of this is kind of leading us to how people dream, or what their aspirations are for themselves. What is their vision of themselves? How do they want to be seen or see themselves? So why do you think it's so important to have a dream?
A dream gives you hope. I think a dream can give you hope, something to look forward to, something to work towards. I had gotten into a space where I lost hope, and I had really given up. So when you suggested this talk show, it was one of the best things that could have happened to me, because it gave me something to look forward to and to work towards. I lost my eldest child January the 28th of 2016. He died as the result of an asthma attack. So I lost my way. I will be honest, I lost my way. I had a bit of a breakdown. I went to work one day and decided I wasn't going back. And I just started to stumble through life, and I just given up. And when there is no sense of purpose, it's like you just give up. You don't want to do anything. I had no motivation. In fact, I'd even lost my motivation to work out. And I went on a cruise with some of my high school friends, and I noticed when I went on the cruise that I'd actually gained back 10 pounds. So when I came back from the cruise, I decided, okay, it's time to get back on the horse and lose the weight. So I have found when there is a goal or a dream, it makes life a little easier, especially for someone like myself where, like, my kids are adults now. So I went from having a family of 5 to pretty much being by myself most of the time. So it gets lonely and it gets boring sometimes. But when you have something to pursue, for you to put your time and energy into, it just makes all the difference in the world.
Yes. So what is your dream?
My dream is to conquer the world. I can't say it any better than that. I want to conquer the world. I'm 54. I was a stay-at-home mom for a very long time, and I got comfortable with that. I got comfortable with really not dealing with the outside world, not dealing with a lot of people. There was a time in my life when my whole social life was Facebook. That was how I interacted with people. And I was comfortable with that for a long time. But, I think now it's time to dream big and to be able to pursue the things that I never thought I would. Like now I'm writing a book and starting off this show. And there are other aspirations that I have. But, at first I was afraid to dream, and I was afraid to dream big because I was afraid that people would look at me and say, who does she think she is? You're Bridget. I mean, come on, girl, be real. But it was like, why not?
Absolutely.
Why not? I've had so many experiences, and there are things that I think that I can offer to the world. Having gone through the process of grief, I even learned a lot in that area that it doesn't have to be so morbid. It is a very sad thing. I'll be sad for the rest of my life. But I want to be a functional human being. I don't want to lie in bed all day and be depressed all day. That would not honor Demetrius's memory. I believe that if I get out there and if I'm doing things, that's how I honor his memory. Demetrius was a writer. I get the biggest kick out of calling myself a writer now. He would be so proud of me, and to know that I'm even trying to do something like this. So I want others to know that it's not over. You can still, move forward in life. Never give up. As long as you have breath, you can move forward.
So tell us about your book. What type of book is it, and what is your book that you?
I'm writing a devotional, and I'm writing a devotional that I wish was available when I was going through the grief process. It was so difficult. It was so scary, and it was such a time of confusion, and it was just a horrible experience. If my son had been sick and I'd seen it coming, it would have been different.
Yes.
But it was a sudden death. So my devotion, at first I share a part that's called The Journey, which was my initial journey through grief. And it's a condensed version of it, of course. And then I go into 31 days of devotionals dealing with different subject matters, like things that you don't even think twice about, but when you're grieving, these are the things that hit you. You go through depression. You want to give up. You don't want to have fun anymore. You just want to cry. You just want to grieve. Something that I found going through grief was that people can be extremely unkind and insensitive. It's basically like, get over it already, and it's like, really, if you have lost a child, it's the most unnatural thing that you could go through, because as a parent, you don't expect to outlive your child. So that was something that was extremely hard for me to wrap my head around, that my son was only 26 when he passed away. And in fact, I had him when I was 26. So it was just something I struggled with. So writing the devotional, it was very therapeutic, but I really believe that this book can make a difference. I really do. And to be honest with you, Emily, I want to change the face of grief. And that's why I wrote my book.
Brilliant, brilliant. And how you've been inspired, what to share based on what you've gone through, and that being able to connect with people.
Yes.
And you mentioned about being sad forever. That's kind of lodging in my thoughts a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like, even though, yes, there's a part of you that will miss your son, and that's where, that's the place for him, but do you think you truly can not necessarily be sad forever because of what the happiness that you're going to bring to people, and the opportunity for people to flourish, and out of this sad situation is going to bring life to a lot of other people? So might that change the script a little bit?
You know, when Demetrius died, the word happiness, I was like, I didn't even want to think of the word happiness. And just the thought of being happy made me feel guilty. It made me feel very guilty. I went on a cruise, as I mentioned earlier, and I struggled to have fun with my friends because I felt guilty. But I found, I thank God that I went through therapy, because it really changed my perspective on the whole grief process. And what my therapist helped me to see was that my son would not want me to be stuck in that pit of gloom and doom. He would want me to live my life. He would want me to be happy. Now, I will say I have to be intentional about it. It's not like before where I was more carefree. No, it's not the same, but I have been happy since my son died. I've had moments of happiness. I've had moments of laughter. I've had moments of cheer. And I don't feel guilty about it anymore, because at the end of the day, life is for the living. And if I trust God, and if I believe in God like I say I do, then I have to trust God that my son is okay, and live my life. And laying in bed all day and crying all day, it will not make a difference in the world. It will not help anyone. I want people to know that there is hope, that you can laugh again. You can get out there and enjoy life again. I'm actually going on another cruise in October. I've been to New York a couple of times since my son's death. I went to see a play on Broadway. Things of that nature that were very uplifting. And I want people who are grieving to know that it's not over. You can reclaim your life. Please do not think you have to bury yourself in a dark pit. The grief at first is unbearable, but as time goes on, it becomes less painful. Yes, you carry that loss always, but life goes on.
So you're talking about some of the setbacks you've had, and clearly with the loss, that's a major setback. So what are some of your other insights that you can share with us in terms of overcoming setbacks in general? There are different types of them. So what are some of the ways you approach that?
I went through a divorce. In fact, I got divorced a few months after my son died. And to be honest with you, I'm very happy that I'm divorced. But there were setbacks financially. There were setbacks in the change of the family dynamic, because we were a family of 5 and now we're a family of 3. So I have 2 children, 2 remaining children, and it's hard because I am not their father and I'm not their eldest brother. I'm mom, and I am so different from my children. We don't have necessarily the same interests. We don't really like the same foods. We're just very different people. So that there's a difficulty there in communicating sometimes and connecting, so you can't give up. You just find ways to overcome your different situations. My financial situation has been very stressful, but at the end of the day, I thank God I have a job, and I'm hoping with these new endeavors that it will help me to become financially independent. That's the goal. That's the dream. But at the end of the day, when we have setbacks, it's easy to get stuck in a mindset of, you know what, I'm giving up. But when you give up, it's not going to benefit you in any way. I will tell anyone to keep fighting. I don't know if it's because I'm a descendant of the Maroons, but I just have a warrior spirit in me.
Tell us about the Maroons. Who are the Maroons, and where does that warrior spirit come from?
The Maroons were runaway slaves, and the British ended up having to sign a treaty with them because they just could not overcome them.
No, in Jamaica
Yeah,
specifically.
in Jamaica. I found out later in life that there are Maroons all over the place. I thought it was just our little part of the world, but no. But it's like they just refused to be slaves, and they fought for their freedom, and it's something I'm very proud of. I'm proud to be a descendant of the Maroons.
Descendant of Nanny.
Yeah, and that's the sect that I'm from.
Chief of the Maroons.
Exactly.
And
so
she's on the what? The dollar? What is it? 5,000 Jamaican currency. She's
Right.
listed on.
and it's I'm just so, it's empowering to know that's what I come from.
Yes.
So it's just not in me to give up. And you know, my mom is Jamaican. You know, I think of my mom, my grandmother, my aunts, the women that I know in general. The Jamaican people, for the most part, they have a fighting spirit.
Yes.
They don't give up. So it's, and then I'm British. That's another part of me. It's like the British people don't give up. Very strong people. So it's just not in me to give up. So what I am learning through this process is I have to lean on God, trust Him, and keep praying. But I have to do my part too.
Yes.
I can't just sit back in bed and just think, okay, a miracle's going to come my way. However God chooses to work everything out for me is how He's going to do it. But I want my children to know, I want my children to say that I'm proud of my mother. She never gave up. My brother died. She got divorced. She had financial difficulties, but she got up every morning. She went to work, and she never gave up. As my mother never gave up, my grandmother never gave up. You know, so that's what I come from, and that's what I want to pass on to my children.
That's quite a legacy to be handing on to them.
Yes.
So what do they think of all these new endeavors you're doing, your new book and your new activities to help other people? What do they think about it?
I think they're proud of me. I think they're very excited for me, and I think that they like the idea that they see a different side of mom. Because for years, as I said, I was a stay-at-home mom, and they were used to that part of me. But now they see me as a more outgoing person. They see me doing things. They see me actually making plans and actually living life. And I'm glad that they are getting to see that part of me.
So it's inspiring them
Yes.
as well with their goals.
Yes,
their lives.
I think so.
Yes. So tell us about the importance of ministry as you see it, or how do you define ministry? Do you see this as a ministry?
Yes. Yes, everything that I do, I always look for the outreach potential. When I say outreach, it's like there's that verse in the Bible. I'm so nervous now, I can't, but the Great Commission, you know, where Jesus was like, we should go out.
Go young into all the world.
Right. So it's like that light is supposed to shine through us always. And people should be drawn to you because the love is supposed to be there. And what I do, like with my personal training, I've tried to help people in that area, promoting a life of wellness and fitness, because the quality of life is so important. And if you're not well, if you're not fit, there's really no quality of life. And especially as you get older, then you understand how important that is, you know? I think of my grandmother. She lived to be 97 years old. But I remember there's a hill in Jamaica called Bonnie View Hill. And I remember my grandmother, almost 90 years old, being able to walk up that hill, okay? So it's like, I think of the older people in Jamaica, that fitness level that they had from the walking, from the healthy lifestyle. So, you know, it just became important to me to reach out to people in that area. And then I started promoting more of encouraging people with their emotional health. Because what I learned in the grief process is that if you do not deal with your emotional health, you are in trouble. I went through a period where I was in denial about my emotional health. I thought that I was fine. I wanted the world to think I was a strong woman. That's the image I was portraying, but I was falling apart. And after going through therapy, it just made such a difference in my life. So now taking on this whole grief thing, I've also been promoting asthma awareness. I've also been encouraging people to stop smoking because my son unfortunately was a smoker, and that's how he ended up having that asthma attack, the last one that took his life. So when I go through pain, I think that pain is something that, excuse me, I'm sorry, a private joke.
Phone ringing.
But you know, I found in life when we go through pain, we can grow from the pain. And it's not very pleasant when you're going through it, but it can make you a better person. And what I have done with the pain I've experienced in life is I've tried to help other people who are going through the same thing. So like the grief, helping people go through that. The weight loss. I understand the pain of being an overweight woman. I understand the pain of going through a bad marriage. I understand the pain of rejection. I understand all of that. So what I want to do with that now is reach out to other people and let them know, hey, your life isn't over. You can overcome it. Like I said, it has to go back to God. It has to go back to God, because I went through a phase where I just had a goal of getting to a certain number on the scale. And it was like, once I get to 123 pounds, I'll be in the normal range. I will no longer be overweight, because at first I was actually morbidly obese. And then it took me a little while to get to the obese stage, and it took me a little while to get to the overweight stage. Then I was overweight for a very long time. It took me a long time to get into the normal range. So to finally get to the normal range, it was like the biggest, I was so happy. But what I realized was that sometimes we become so obsessed with a goal, it's easy to lose sight of what's the most important thing. And what I had to share on Facebook was like, remember to always seek first the kingdom of God. That's the most important thing. Because I got so caught up in the weight loss, my life changed for the better in many ways, but I started to lose sight of my spiritual life. I started to lose sight of what was the most important thing. I became more obsessed because as I lost weight, I noticed the change in my face because I lost so much weight. I'm not 20 years old anymore. You know, vanity will kick in sometimes, but at the end of the day, I have to see myself for the beautiful woman that I am. That's how God has made me. I have to embrace that. So I just want women to love themselves. I want everyone to love themselves, but I want people who are not in their 20s to know that, hey, just because you're not a 20-something-year-old, that you feel old and decrepit and you feel like it's over, let me throw in the towel. And it's making me think back to Nicholas, my son. He was telling his brother and sister one day something about this really old lady. She was really old and whatever. So I said to him, how old was this lady? And he said she was about 41.
That's old, all right.
And at the time I was about 45. And I remember saying to him, you're so obnoxious.
You just wait till you get there.
So it's like I am 54 and this is the best I have felt in a long time. I don't feel old. I know I'm in great shape. I'm in better shape than a lot of people in their 20s. I feel amazing. I want other people to feel the way I feel.
How long did it take for you to go through all those stages of weight loss?
Oh my gosh, it actually took years.
Years?
It actually took years, and I had to figure some things out along the way. My emotional health played a role in my weight. I was working out 6 days a week for a very long time, and some days I used to work out 2 hours, and it was like, why am I not losing weight? Well, when my ex-husband left, I stopped doing a lot of things, and then I realized I was an emotional eater. Every night before going to bed, I used to eat an extra large Kit Kat bar. It's even bigger than a king size bar, okay? And I was doing that every night. And I was drinking a lot of soda, eating a lot of cake, a lot of cookies. and all of that. But when he left, I went cold turkey. I didn't eat that stuff for about 3 months, and that's when I noticed the weight started to fall off.
Yes.
So then I made the association with the food, and I'm like, okay, you have been teaching and preaching about a healthy lifestyle, but you weren't really living it. So I had to really become more intentional about it. So for women, it is harder to lose weight. But what I found out was that we have more control than we realize. I had to cut out a lot of the starchy things. I love mashed potatoes. I used to eat mashed potatoes like a lot. But now if I do it on the weekend. Now I don't eat cake during the week. If I'm going to have cake, I do it on the weekend. I don't do soda every day anymore. I used to eat a lot of bread. I don't eat a lot of bread anymore. And when I do bread, I try to do like the 100-calorie bread. And I'm more careful. But it did take me years. But I've been able to maintain it now for it's been about 3 years. But I've gotten this low, like this past year is when I finally got down to where I'm in the normal range. And I will say it's really not as hard as we think, but it's really about hard work, dedication, discipline. And, you have to be dedicated to the process. You have to respect the process. I tell people that all the time, because if you do not respect the process, you will not accomplish your goal. And if it's not a lifestyle change, you will not stay there.
Yes.
Because if you notice on The Biggest Loser, you've had people who have lost 100 pounds, 200 pounds, and then they end up gaining it back and gaining even more than what they lost. Because when they went on the show, they went for a competition, but they didn't really participate in a lifestyle change. Because when you think about it, a lifestyle change takes time. You are not going to grasp it overnight, the things that you need to do. But I have to be more active. I have to make the decision every morning when my alarm goes off before 5 in the morning. I have to get my butt out of bed to exercise. There are many mornings I want to climb back in and go to sleep, but no, I would rather sacrifice that sleep and get it done, because I know when I come home from work, I'm not going to do it.
So you're really highlighting the idea there's no such thing as an overnight success.
No.
If anything worth achieving is going to take time.
It will take
And
time.
people need to realize that discipline, that self-control to and not only just set the goal,
Yes,
but have the plan of action of how they're going to achieve it.
exactly.
And know that there are things, maybe obstacles along the way
Mhm.
that might discourage them, but when you keep yourself focused, it's not just taking a pill and boom,
Exactly.
all
No.
things are solved.
No, but if you have a plan and you stick with it, then you can accomplish your goal. And what I have found, if you do not know how to accomplish your goal, there is someone that does know how to do it. Reach out. There are always people out there who are willing to help you and give advice. And that's all you have to do. Take that first step. If you join Planet Fitness, I mean, it's what, $10 a month? But you don't even have to go to the gym. Like, I have a gym in my garage. There are fitness tapes. There are so many things. There are books that you can read. There are videos on YouTube. So at the end of the day, if you're serious about it, you can accomplish your goal. I have tried to help people, but they weren't ready. They weren't serious. But there are people who have been serious and they've gotten good results. So it's really all in your mindset. We have more power than we realize. We tend to give up very easily, and we tend to make excuses. But I think that if you want something bad enough, you'll go for it and do whatever it takes.
So how often will people be having the opportunity to watch your show and interact with you?
I would like to do this weekly, and that's my goal, to do it weekly. And there are people that I'm looking forward to interviewing, and I'm excited to say that you'll be my first guest. I'm very excited.
Flip the switch here.
Very, very excited about that. But yes, I would like to make this a weekly show, and I'm very excited about it because I want to reach as many people as possible. I want people to know that there is hope, and just my love of life. And to even say those words, the love of life, because I had lost that. and struggled to even feel love, and to struggle to even because there was a time I didn't even want to live anymore. But I have decided that I want to live, I want to travel, I want to love, I want to experience so many things in life. And I want that for everyone else out there. So for all of you out there, you're struggling, you're at a low point in your life, maybe you lost your job, maybe your husband walked away, maybe your wife walked away, maybe your kids have gone off to school, you have an empty nest. Well, find a goal. There's always something that you can do to get out of the funk. Do not give into it. Do not climb in the pit, because I'm sure you know, Emily, once you get in that pit, and some of us, we like to even throw the dirt on top of ourselves. It's the hardest thing to get out of it.
Because usually there's not a ladder in there.
Right, and that's
So
the truth, and
you have
that's the
some serious
truth.
climbing to do.
That's the truth. So don't even go in the pit. Just work on yourself. Have a dream, have a goal, and go for it. It's never too late. As long as you have breath, you can do it.
So you want people to subscribe, as they say, down below.
Yes.
And to sign up to follow your YouTube channel.
Yes.
And follow you on Facebook.
Yes.
Where you do sometimes Facebook Lives.
Yes,
and you
I
can
do.
interact. People can interact with you in a live manner.
Yes.
How often do you do those?
Well, I have not done it in a while, but I am going to go back to it at least once a week, because I enjoy the interaction, and I like putting the information out there. I have found that Facebook Live is a wonderful tool. There are some people that, like, I enjoy their Facebook Live events. There are some people, like, they do different music events that they do. There's a guy, Christopher Blacka Hendricks. I just love his show. He puts out like a reggae music thing. But what I like about him too, it's not just the music. He talks about life. He gives good advice. He gives advice that is very uplifting. There was one show where he actually talked about being a dark-skinned man and how proud he was of his complexion, because there are people, because you're dark-skinned, they feel that you're not as attractive. You know how it was when we were growing up. All these perceptions that people had about the color of your skin or your hair or whatever it was. I remember when I was growing up, like, to have dreadlocks, it was a big embarrassment. It was a big embarrassment. I love my dreadlocks. I love my natural hair. I love who I am. I don't feel I should be defined by a Western standard of beauty. And that's just
Or
how
anyone's
I see,
standard
or
of beauty, as a
anyone's
matter of
standard of
fact.
beauty. Exactly. So when, listening to this guy every week and the things that he talks about and the message of love, I listen to his show every week and I enjoy it. So Facebook Live is a wonderful tool, and I do plan to utilize it more to get my message out there.
And you speak about fitness, and you speak about different topics when you do Facebook Live and so forth.
Definitely. And I tell you what, with all the turmoil that's going on in the world, with all the hatred that's going on in the world, why not spread some love? We need it. We definitely need it.
We sure do.
We do.
Well, Bridget, thank you for starting to spread the love right now.
Thank you, Emily.
And I know it's a blessing to hear your story, and that we look forward to more stories on Your Story, My Story.
Emily McHugh, thank you so much for doing this. I cannot thank you enough. You planted a seed, and you have encouraged me, and just knowing that someone, you are so intelligent. You are someone that I look up to. I like your drive. I like your passion. I like just so much about you. And for you to see something in me that truly encouraged me. And what that has taught me is that we as human beings, if we would only take the time to encourage each other and, uplift each other, we could all make a difference in the world. So thank you for hosting today. But like I said, thank you for encouraging me with all that I have been doing. And if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be sitting here today.
Oh,
so
my
God bless
goodness.
you. Thank you.
God
And
bless you too.
welcome to the first episode of Your Story, My Story. And I hope that you will join us when Emily will be the first guest on my show. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Till next time.